Let me just tell you a very brief overview of our company. It's headed by IITians. We have a U.S. office headquartered in U.S. Has an office in India, and we just opened an office in London. And Kamran here, and if you're from London, Kamran here is headquartered here in London, and you can talk to him about. We have about 100 plus employees, mainly focused on outsourcing. And before I go into the framework, what I wanted to talk about is that how did we come up with this framework? Why did we build this framework, and how did it get built? And a lot of things come out from a necessity point of view, and that's what exactly that happened. We started as an outsourcing company, but what we found was that to get our customers into automation, because they wanted to do automation and wanted to go into Selenium, the problem that happened was that they couldn't get rid of their manual testers. And the thing, they loved Selenium, they loved the no-cost options, they loved a lot of the stuff, but what they didn't like was the fact that they couldn't use the same manual resources that they had. So they had to create a structure to move from automation into automation to be done by manual people. And what we found was that the manual testers, as great as they are and as necessary they are for a lot of things, they were not necessarily, we were not able to move them to start using Selenium very easily. It took us time and and maybe even different skill sets. So what happened is that's how the Craft framework started to come into existence. And it's a very simple vision. Every tester should be able to create automated test and script using tools that they are most comfortable with. So in this case, we said they can start by using spreadsheets. And we said there have to be developers. They have to be able to do stuff that even sometimes developers find hard to do. What does it mean? So for example, in the Selenium case, if you are trying to do nested frames, if you have nested frames, it's an extremely hard thing. You have to write program, you have to nest it out, you have to do setup, you have to go from browser to browser. It's a complicated process. So we built a framework that allows you to do all of that pretty easily. And why the Selenium name? The Krypton name. So Selenium, is an element in the periodic table. We thought the next element was bromine, but everybody knows bromine is taken, right? Because bromine was this test management thing, which they stopped development on. But so we picked Krypton as the next element, and hopefully it'll be just as successful as Selenium.
Do you want to scroll down the dialogue at the bottom left?
Oh yeah.
Right.
There we go. And so the big thing about this was that you do not need any programming skills to use this program or to use this framework, and it does automation using Selenium, right? So you don't need programming. You use an Excel-based spreadsheet to do it, and that's what it is. The key architectural goals, and then at some point I'll have Anil come back in and start talking about it, but the key architectural goals are robustness, high performance, so that you don't lose any of the performance because of the Excel spreadsheet. You have maintainability. I don't know how many of you attended the talk from Anand yesterday. Anybody's, the guy who was talking about object-oriented testing structures. So we wanted to keep a structure that is still object-oriented and easy to maintain, so that you can put the names of the test just as you do it by yourself. And the usability aspect, obviously, is the fact that once I should be able to use any sort of ways in which I do this. So we'll go through that a little bit more. The other part about the Krypton framework was its architecture, right? So when we started building this up, we wanted to be very interoperable with everything that exists in the marketplace today, or new stuff. So we created interfaces, so APIs, so that you can connect. And also, it has to be extensible. Right? So it was interoperable and extensible, so that anything new comes up, you don't have to go and change the framework. You don't necessarily have to need the code for the framework. You could, but you don't necessarily have to. So if you see, it runs with Selenium 1, it runs with Selenium WebDriver, and then we also found for our Microsoft, for the .NET environment, as some of our customers are .NET, that we could attach it to a .NET environment as well. So so we have Microsoft Coded UI. You could run it in your private cloud. You could run it in your machines in the public cloud. So I don't know if you guys know, we just announced a partnership with Sauce Labs yesterday or Monday. So you could do any of that. Any test management interface, we have built some test management interfaces based upon our needs of our customers. But you can attach any test management suite that you need, that you have, that has an API so that it can attach itself. So that is easy. And what that means is that you have test cases that you can run from the test management tool, and the results will be populated into the test management tool, and you don't have to do anything about trying to map the results from the framework. And as we started building this, Selenium, which goes very well with the web stuff, we found that in a real production environment, there were applications that were built with Microsoft applications. So we had to build stuff that allowed people to use the same framework that could get rid of the QTP, if you will, and automate with the same spreadsheet Microsoft applications as well. Today, we do not do Mac applications, but we do Microsoft applications. Now we are building interfaces for the mobile applications as well. So Anil, maybe you can point out to which mobile platforms we support today and what is the future. Anil, can you hear us?
Oh yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, so I said, can you tell us what Microsoft platforms, what mobile platforms do we support today, and what are our plans?
Currently we support all the websites, mobile API, we support HTML5 applications on Android and iPhone, and we are currently in very advanced stage of supporting Android native applications with this framework.
Which one?
Android.
Android. So
Native applications, we are in very advanced stage.
okay. So that way. So the Android platform as well is being about to be supported, and then the iOS we are in about to be supported as well. So essentially, the framework itself is very extensible. Just a quick overview of what I've said to you in terms of bullet points. One, it's a wrapper around the Selenium WebDriver. It uses spreadsheets to write test cases, and we'll walk through that, and we'll probably even be able to do a demo if we have time. I think we should have time. Easy integration, custom built grid to control a window. So here, what I mean is that in the spreadsheet itself, you define what are the machines that you're going to run this test on. And you can run in parallel, you can run sequentially, or you can run in a combination of a private cloud or a public cloud. Thank you. I hope there's no feedback. It generates reports, right? So we are able to generate report that you can see directly from our tool as well. So here's how a report looks. I'll just show you. I have a report that is already run, and I'll show you the report. So this is how you'll see the report that will come out of your test from your test cases in a spreadsheet. How do you look at this report? You can see that the two of them, the high-level test is, obviously the first of it is the portal basic registration. The second is Yahoo's email registration and the Yahoo email registration for international. And you see that one has passed and the two have failed, and then you can click on these and look at the details of each of the tests that are right there. So this is how you will look at a report if you are not using any test management tool. If you're using a test management tool, then this data gets populated into the test management tool so that you can look at it directly from the test management tool. Sometimes the machine always behaves in a weird way when we are doing this. So you get the reports directly there as well. The second is that it allows for back-end validations. Because it is spreadsheet based, you can actually write SQL directly in your spreadsheet, and you can do the back-end validations for the database. And we provide hooks into multiple databases, whether it is an Oracle or SQL Server or I mean, not the non-SQL, non-relational databases, but all relational databases, we have hooks that you can actually do data validation in the spreadsheet itself. So you're now taking Selenium and making it more validation proof as well. The other problem that you find in Selenium is the ability to handle pop-ups and pop-unders, because we have to write code to take into account those things. We took into account all of those things in this framework itself. And then if you have a Windows file upload dialog box, we take care of that as well. So all the things we are, in some sense, creating this framework. And the reason this framework also works very well is because it comes out of the real environment of our customers who are enterprises that use this on a daily basis. What are the components of the framework? The components of the framework are pretty simple. This is kind of the spreadsheet that you build, and there are three major portions to it. Anil, do you want to take us through that? Let me see if he can explain it, otherwise I'll explain it. Anil, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so can you take us through this spreadsheet a little bit?
Yes, I can. Can everyone hear me?
Can people hear him? Okay, great, go ahead.
All right. So inside this framework, we have three major spreadsheets. One is test case file, where you write all your test case stats.
You may want to talk a little slower.
Okay. So in this framework, you have three main files. One is test case file, where you will be writing all the test stats in sequential manner, which you could say, okay, click on this item, select this item from the list, or enter data in this text box. Then you have test records, which means if you wanted to iterate your same test flow on multiple set of data, you can use test data records separately. If you could see, I have this iteration column linked on the right side of the top, and then which is linked with the row number column of the tested record. To provide a layer of abstraction between object definition and object names, we use object repository. Object repository is nothing but a simple collection of object definition with mapping to their logical names. So, which makes writing test case much neater and understandable. For instance, in your test case file, you could write, okay, I wanted to open this URL and then enter username in the username text box. Now, in your test case file, you can essentially say, okay, enter data in the username text box. And then in the object repository, you could provide, estimable identification for that username object. Another benefit of using object repository separated out from test case file is, in case in future your changes or HTML property changes, you may not be able to find all test cases where this object was being used, but it's quite easy to go to object repository and make changes there. And since your logical name or the name how you call that object is still same, all the descriptions are consumed by your test case file. So that's how pretty much these things are linked.
Good. So if it was not clear, I'll try to explain it in very simplistic terms as well. Really, there are three files, if you think about it. One is the object file, where you put all the objects that you're trying to test. Second is a file with the data, right? That has all the data elements, like what are the parameters for this object, what are the stuff that your test case, your actual test case, right? And third is the flow, right? This kind of separation actually helps you a lot, because what Anil, as he was saying, is that the object, you may change the object, but the flow may not change, right? And this goes back to the discussion that Anand was having in one of the stuff where he was saying, you have to name, you always have to have naming conventions which are easy to remember. So in this case, on the top, the test case is registration. You can call it whatever you want. Right? I mean, right now, you can call it whatever you want. You can put your name up there the way you like it to define a test case. The object repository is where the actual objects are that you're testing. And you can add use cases any way, shape you want in a spreadsheet. That's what makes the life of our tester really, really easy, because he thinks that way. The other thing this also does is that if you change your GUI a lot, right, but you don't change the objects, you don't have to redo the test case. Automation still works because you're object-based. So it really, in some sense, adds the value for you that you have an object repository with the objects, a data that you can keep adding, you can iterate as well, and then the workflow that actually adds workflow to it. Cloud integration. Now, as we find Sauce Labs and other cloud systems coming up in this place, we felt it necessary that we integrate with the cloud. And our cloud integration now works both for private cloud, for public cloud, our API, all the test cases are there. And like in case of Sauce Labs, we take care of the parameters and test runs and test IDs that are created in Sauce Labs, and we map it back into your object repository. So the tight integration that in an enterprise that is needed for you to have a full life cycle management of your QA processes, we can help you handle that. Is our tool perfect? Probably not. It's still in iteration. We'll have a lot more iterations in order to make it perfect. But our customers are today helping us make it perfect. And it is working really, really well. Distributed execution, I talked about it, so I'm not going to talk much about it. The benefits of the crafts are very, very simple, right? Reduce time to market. You can use your manual force to create the test cases. One of the things that I'm finding as I'm talking to our customers is that they have 6,000 test cases, 10,000 test cases. How do I automate the 10,000 test cases? It requires programmers to be able to keep programming those test cases in a way, and you need real programmers, and the programmer staff is limited. Now what they are able to do is take their manual staff programmers, put them on this, and then they can create an automated test suite. I'll go through a use case, and then I'll go through a demo as well. Increased test efficiencies, obviously the productivity is high, test effectiveness, the team morale goes up, and the last that, this is the common thing that we have heard around, that you always need manual testers for the new functionality, right? And the regression, sometimes we find, is the wrong area for focus for our testers because they want to do the new stuff. So now you can have the manual the regression being done by quickly automated, and then the people focused on the new functionality. A case study. So one of the largest dating sites in US, not naming it here, is one of our customers, and they had 6,000 tests that they wanted to be automated, and the entire, besides we got rid of the QTP licenses that they were trying to use, or they were trying to extend and add more people, the total time that it takes to run their execution also dropped significantly. Anil, since you worked very closely with the customer, do you want to add anything to the customer case study one?
Yes. Once we migrated their test case from QTP to this framework, one of the key important thing is we were able to use same set of data. We did not had so many efforts to be put in, because we were, even in that framework, we were using Excel spreadsheet based framework for QTP, so we were able to quickly migrate it. That's one. Now, because it is now Selenium based, we do not have any restriction on the number of licenses. We are in fact able to achieve concurrent execution as much as on 80 machines in parallel.
So, got rid of the QTP licenses. We can execute things in parallel, running on 80 machines simultaneously. The time to execute the test cases went significantly down, right? Not to mention the cost. So that's pretty much is the demo. That's pretty much the talk. What I want to do is turn it over to Anil to actually take you through an actual live demo. So Anil, I'm going to switch from this to the Skype mode.
Okay.
And then you will share your screen.
Yes.
We will try this. Okay, I don't think I want to see my face.
That's okay. So you can see this
Yes.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, no, I can see. Yeah, now I can see.
Okay. So these are the three test cases for which Rajiv has just shown all of you the results. This is two basic prototypes. So I'll be going through only one of the test cases, and then I will quickly run them. It essentially launches your demo application. In this framework, you can also create reusable test cases and then use them in any way you want without any restrictions. So essentially, for the main test case, I have created 3 reusables. This will launch the demo application. Then on the home page, it will click registration link, and then it will actually do the registration. For the reusable sections, you can either define them within the same file, or you can in fact use another file to do this. So for now, I have stated them in a common file, which is page methods. You can name these files with any manner, whatever. So when I say application.launch demo, it essentially does is open browser a common URL, which means in case tomorrow you have to change your URL, you can always come to a common reusable change URL, and all test cases that are using this open browser, open main site, they can continue working like this. One thing that we forgot to include in the spreadsheet is the power of this options column. this options column is used to, alter behavior of every test step. For example, here when I say keep cookies, it will be launching a browser and will not be deleting cookies. In other cases, it could be something like delete cookies, or you could say, okay, skip. When I say skip, for example, if a test step is obsolete, I can just write skip in the options column, and it will not execute that step, which means you don't need to really delete test steps from your flow. Those kind of things. This is how we do it. For example, for demo registration, you can use registration page, edit first name, and unique data, correct account date. So this is some of the usability factors. When you are doing a new registration, you always want that a unique text can be entered every time, which means instead of enter data, you can use enter unique data. Number of characters will be 8, so it will generate 8 character long data for you and enter this. You also have the utility functions such as generate unique mobile number, in which it will generate a unique mobile number, and so forth. In case I need to run this test case, I have a couple of ways available. I'll just take you through the object repository also. So this is how you use object repository. You get the parent test object is a combination used for page and object, and then you have object type, and then you have how it is being identified, CSS, path, link, whatever it is, actual value.